name is Sheridan Ruth, and I am here to welcome you home. This is the Exposed podcast. Where we reveal the body-based ways to ease anxiety, heal trauma, and create an empowered connection with love and money using nervous system regulation and a healthy dose of self-compassion. Hello. I'm so excited to be chatting here with you today. We're talking about how your complaints about your partner reveal your unhealed trauma. Fun. So, let's get into it. I'm going to apologize in advance because this could be potentially a little bit triggering for some of you. I love you, and use discernment as you listen. Go slowly. We're going to talk a little bit today. I'm going to go over kind of some scenarios, and I want you to tell me if it feels like something that you've done. You can either tell me in your mind and send me a telepathic message, or like literally message me. I'm super curious. Like, just message me. Hey, Cher, I have done these things before. I resonated with XYZ. I like chatting with you guys. So, full transparency, this episode was born because I needed an outlet because I speak to a lot of people in my personal life where I don't get to be a coach, and they complain about their partners. And I love these people. Gosh, I love them so much. But I don't have my coach hat on, and I don't have my professional hat on, and I'm not coming to them from as somebody who's worked in the realm of like relationship support for many years now. And so I don't get to say these things. So I'm going to say this now. And yeah, thanks guys for listening. So we're talking about how your complaints about your partner reveal your unhealed trauma. Notice if you do these things. Number one, you judge your partner for doing something that you don't allow yourself to do. So like when you were growing up, your family was really health oriented, or let's say that you went through like some big transformation and you have suddenly become very, very health oriented, and your partner so not worried about health. They smoke, they order pizza at 12 o'clock at night, they drink beer at 11 o'clock in the morning on a Sunday, and they go to the gym very willy-nilly. They're not particularly interested in their health. Maybe they have, I don't know, diabetes or something. I have no idea. But you see their responses and you're actually judging them. Now, there's a difference between not accepting and not enjoying their activities and hoping for something quote unquote better for them versus judging them. I'm talking about you judging them and getting a little bit annoyed about it and kind of asking yourself questions like, does this make me incompatible? Where do I draw the line, essentially? This happens as well for judging their emotional response to certain situations. You might judge them for stonewalling or for freezing. You get quite critical to them. Instead of coming from a place of curiosity and compassion and how can we understand and meet each other where we are, there's this, oh my God, like I can't believe that they're so XYZ. It's so unhealthy. Like there's a critical aspect of it. I have to help, like I have to fix this. This isn't okay. Like how can they do this? Judging them for freezing or for getting really anxious or something like that. The other way that we do this, we're checking to see if it feels like you, is that you are not able to hold their emotions without becoming a part of their emotion. So there's no clear boundary between what is their emotion and you feeling genuine empathy and compassion for them. and them having an emotional experience and you actually joining them in that emotional experience, and you becoming emotionally what's the word I'm looking for? Emotionally affected by this experience. So they're having a sad day, so suddenly now you're having a sad day instead of kind of like you're seeing them in their sad day. So to recap, you have judging them for being a certain way, judging them for responding a certain way emotionally, pulling yourself into their emotions or being unable to hold a boundary. And this one is really, really lovely. And I love you, my beautiful empaths. I identified as an empath for a really long time, but it's understanding how they feel, or assuming that you understand how they feel. Assuming that when XYZ happens that they're feeling sad. Or assuming that, I don't know, something happens and you just assume that they're going to feel a certain way. You assume it's going to be really difficult for them. You assume it's going to be really, really easy for them. There's that one. There's another assumption that we make, which is assuming that they express their love in a certain way. Such as, I express my love through remembering dates. I haven't been very good at it this year. I don't know what that means, but I usually express my love by remembering like important dates, and I'll send people who are important to me messages. Happy birthday, happy anniversary, whatever. Gosh, I have not been good at that this year. So I still love you guys. But, you know, I would assume, therefore, I would assume that other people would also express their love in that way. And therefore, if they didn't do that certain thing, I would be like, oh, well, they don't love me, right? So we do this as well, I think, a lot of the time. We assume that people express their love through having a clean house or arriving on time, and we get in our mind and we say, well, if they don't do those specific things, then therefore they do not love me. Yeah. Another one is an expectation for them to be this perfect partner. An example is holding them to standards that you don't necessarily hold yourself to, such as like nitpicking. When they nitpick you, it's critical and borderline emotional abusive. However, when you nitpick them, you're just being helpful. So expecting them to, or if they cancel plans last minute, they're being careless and they don't love you. But if you cancel plans last minute, you're being like, you're just being a human being, right? Another way they do this is giving advice that you should actually be taking. If you guys watch human design and you're into human design, I feel like this is more projectory. I'm a projector. If you have no idea what I'm talking about, just forget about it. But it's seeing somebody in a situation, seeing your partner in a situation and like just giving them advice and feeling this, oh, I have to give them this advice. This is what they should do. And then I think sometimes we look back and we're like, ooh, I actually needed to take that advice. This happens so much. So as you've been listening to me speak for like the past 7-8 minutes, notice how many of these that you can feel yourself, oh, I kind of do that. Oh, I kind of do that. Oh, I kind of do that. And what's happening here is that you're taking all of the rules, the shoulds, and the blueprint that you have created to live your life, and you are projecting it out onto another person. These are rules and shoulds that you pick up through your life from the moment, even before you're born, from parents, from teachers, from different attachment figures, from cultures, from books, from spiritual communities, from social media, from the internet, everywhere. And some of them are super, super, super helpful. It is really helpful to have empathy and to sometimes assume how somebody else would feel in a certain situation. That can be a very supportive thing. Sometimes they actually become these assumptions that we make, or these projections that we make, can actually become really, 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 really counterproductive and they can become like a cage or like a chainsaw that rips into our relationship, our sensitive, beautiful relationship, and it creates heartbreak and pain. When it is something that is causing pain, not only is it your greatest opportunity as a human being to expand into a new version of yourself, to become more wise, to understand life a little deeper, to cultivate humility and empowerment and self-trust. But it is also sometimes a sign that there is something a little bit deeper going on. And you know that there's something a little bit deeper going on when one of these you are either doing consistently, almost compulsively, like it happens a lot, and you've kind of tried some things to change it. You've talked about it a couple of times, like it's like a consistent thing, and it's not helping you. So consistently assuming how your partner would feel and then being totally off. Consistently assuming that they express their love in a certain way and then feeling like they don't love you because they're not doing it that way. Consistently trying to change who they are and judging them for the way that they do things. Consistently expecting them to behave in a way that you don't behave in. Or it's just too high of a standard for a human being, right? For expecting them to be perfect. Consistently giving advice to other people when you refuse to take it. Consistently diving into your partner's emotions without being able to hold a boundary between that's your emotion and I'm sorry that you're feeling that way and I love you and I care for you and here I am over here. And so when we notice that we're doing these things consistently, or we notice that they are joined with either, this is a couple, so listen here, this is really important, either an anxious kind of flight energy, like, oh, like I'm full of fear, an anger, like a big anger, or this melancholy numbness and depression of like, I don't even care, like I'm just gonna walk, like numbness. The numbness is really important. I think most people, if I say, are you triggered? They're going to say, yeah, like I am triggered when I feel activation. Yes, it is activation, but it is also a numbness or a dissociation of sorts, or like a confusion or kind of a going through the motions. And I don't necessarily mean going through the motions for an extended period of time. It could be a process of 3 hours. Yesterday morning, I had a phone call and I got really triggered from it. And I was like, okay, kind of got off the phone call, like went and just did things that almost out of habit. And then I was not feeling very good that afternoon. And I was having all these thoughts and I was having a bit of anxiety and I was like, I'm just like not okay. Sat down, did my parts mapping, worked through one of the worksheets that I'm actually going to be sharing with you guys, and had a cold shower, and then I came out and I was like, oh, I wasn't anxious. I was really numb and going through the motions because I was really triggered. Oh, okay. Interesting. So that can happen. So when we notice that we have either this fight or flight or freeze or fawn type energy, this numb energy, or we're doing these things consistently, what it's doing is it's actually pointing us in the direction of something inside of us that is in pain or is more constricted than it wants to be and may be related to trauma. It's pointing us to a time and a place where something was so difficult that we created a rigid rule around it that we are now projecting out into other people. And I'm going to give you guys some examples so that you can begin to conceptualize what I'm talking about. And so I'll go down through the list, right? So we have judging them for being a certain way. So for example, as a child, if you were only encouraged and celebrated for your achievements, now we have this subconscious belief that not achieving, not being busy maybe, is bad. So we're going to judge the other person. When I say this to you logically, it seems, it might seem small, but what makes something traumatic isn't the event itself, it's something that is inherently overwhelming for the nervous system. It has nothing to do with the actual thing. It's just, was this overwhelming for the nervous system? And so if there was a situation or numerous small situations that created an overwhelming experience for the nervous system, then it will have been marked in your body as a traumatic event. And so mom and dad only celebrating for your achievements can suddenly very much become traumatic for the part of you that just wants to kind of do less and not achieve so much, because it's getting this message of you're not really welcome here, and that you don't belong is one of the most traumatizing experiences that a human being could experience. Another one is if you're judging them, let's say for freezing or for stonewalling, to not managing their emotions in the way that you desire. Maybe your ex used to act in this way, or your dad did, or your uncle who ended up being abusive did, or your mother did, and you never reconciled that original experience with them. You saw them behaving in this way, it caused great pain, and you never created a resolution with that person. So you're probably in this relationship trying to subconsciously create a resolution to this painful loop that is now playing inside of your subconscious. Now, does that mean that you have chosen the incorrect partner? No. Just means that this is what is being asked to be seen and to be loved and to be resolved inside of this relationship. The empathic understanding of how they feel. Most likely something happened where you actually found it safer as when you were younger to pick up on micro information and understand how people feel in order to manage other people's moods and keep safe or predict turbulent behavior in your environment. Assuming that they do X, Y, Z to express love, or like if they don't remember their dates, important dates, then they don't love you. More often than not, I think a part of you is probably desperately searching for love and that feeling of, oh, you're so seen, while at the same time being scared it won't have this love and therefore wanting to avoid the pain. So there's this longing and there's also this fear that are dancing together and actually asking and propelling you to engage in these behaviors that are blocking your intimacy and blocking your ability to receive the intimacy that you desire, because this part of you that wants it so badly is simultaneously petrified that it will come and then be gone. When you're not able to hold their emotions without diving into them and experiencing them yourself, maybe when you were younger you experienced that boundaries like either didn't happen, like your family didn't really have a lot of boundaries. There was an enmeshment and there was a lack of clarification between what's yours and what's mine, and or any attempt that you did make to set a boundary threatened your sense of belonging and safety. So when we're kids, particularly around like that developmental age of around 3, and then I think again when we're back teenagers, we're making these attempts to set a boundary and we're identifying what's yours and what's mine. Depending on our circumstances, if we consistently try to create a boundary where we identify what's yours and what's mine, and it is met with an uncomfortable sensation, or it is met with a threat for us to not get our basic needs met, such as love, care, and reciprocity, we're going to stop doing that. It's not productive. We're just going to stop trying to create a boundary because it's painful for us. So what we do, if our boundaries aren't celebrated, at least about 30% of the time, then we're just going to stop trying to set a boundary. And when we become an adult, now we don't really understand what it feels like to have this boundary. And that space in between two people and having that this is yours and this is mine can actually be extremely difficult and extremely activating and hard on a visceral level because we don't understand it. It never happened. We don't know how to make it feel safe. And so we have to practice creating that this is me and this is you. And I think probably here, I'm not sure you particularly, but this is actually something that I do a lot with people that end up working with me. It's something that we focus on a lot. This is me and this is you. And we do it in this body-based somatic way because we're managing this very embodied sense of me versus you, right? Okay, the other one, giving advice that you should actually take. My love, this is an avoidance technique and it is helping you avoid a deep well of discomfort inside. I see you, I love you, I have done this so much. It's an avoidance technique. And so there's something inside that's very difficult for you to feel. It might feel scary. You may not trust yourself to feel it. It might feel like it's a wave of overwhelm. And even now it might feel numb. Like it might be so much that right now it feels numb. And by you giving advice and not taking it, you get to avoid feeling the discomfort of what would happen if you were to take that advice. So this is how we can use what annoys us about our partner to take ourselves on a path of what is requiring our love inside, where we want to expand inside, what's happening, what requires your acceptance, what requires your nourishment, what requires your attention. And when you can take your attention in there, into that space, then you can expand as a human being and you can experience more of the love that you really, really, really desire. So before we say goodbye, I'm going to take a couple of minutes to share with you a very, very, very exciting invitation that will support you in applying this in a very practical way so that you can kind of stop ruminating over your complaints about your partner and trying to figure them out, and in a way that goes deeper than mindset work and in a way that nourishes your nervous system and respects what your nervous system's capacity is for, help you use this discomfort to awaken your greatest potential as a human being in a partnership. So you, my love, are probably here for numerous reasons listening to this podcast. You may be following me, may have been following me and implementing my relationship and anxiety advice for a little while now. And perhaps it is the first time that we have had the pleasure of connecting together through the waves of the internet. What I know to be true about every single listener is that you are likely here because you are ready to develop the tools to bounce back from the difficulties of life quickly, and that includes so deeply the moments of tension and uncertainty in your romantic relationship or ships. The present or the future tension, or tension from the past. And particularly, overcoming the heartbreak or trauma in your past that is influencing how your relationships play out today. For example, using all the examples that we just went over together. I know that you are ready to stop needing to control your partner through nitpicking, nagging, judgment, or setting boundaries, and that you actually want to know how to set these boundaries with your loved ones in a way that actually increases the love, trust, and connection you have with them and doesn't just feel like isolating walls. I know that you're ready to experience a long-term relationship where you feel safe, loving, and being loved just as you are, and where you can trust that you have made a good choice about who you are sharing your life with. And while today we just covered a little bit about projections and trauma and what might be happening in your inner world, this is one strategy from many, many, many that I support all of my clients through. We always focus on nervous system into regulation so that you can integrate this work, emotional alchemy, and your ability to cultivate self-trust. So this short podcast to you is just the tip of the iceberg, which is why I want to extend an invitation to you to join Romance Revolution, where we're going to dive very, very deep on exactly what you need to go from feeling overwhelmed and confused or anxious about your choices romantically to having the tools to regulate through the big emotions and find deep self-trust and confidence so that you guys can have more fun together. Take a moment and visualize this. Conversations with your partner about the stuff that matters, like what's for dinner and your 5-year plan, are speckled with jokes and gentle kisses instead of tension and activation. And you can switch the tension in your chest and the tightness in your jaw when faced with uncertainty for a soft pillow of security and I'm going to be okay no matter what. And disappointment, fear, and disgust that is triggered by their actions no longer means anxiety spirals and arguments. It means feeling even more secure in your beliefs, your authentic self, and feeling so safe that you are able to move on with your day and cuddle up in bed at night with a smile on your face. And when they are sick, unproductive, or depressed, you are able to empower them without crossing into self-abandonment or losing sight of your own pleasure, joy, and ambition. In pursuit of these desires, you have probably tried traditional talk therapy, reading books to understand what's happening inside, or trying to figure it out with your brain and your journal, and maybe like a breath class or something, which, while extremely powerful, often jumps over the essential need that your body has to integrate this work on a physical basis using the tools that speak its language. You know that integration and application in real life is what will stop you from feeling stuck and running in circles doing the same work for years and years in a row, which is also why resistance pops up. Resistance feeds you thoughts such as, I'll do mindset work and then I'll address the somatic stuff later, or if I join this program, I'm going to find out my relationship is doomed and then we need to break up, which, by the way, is extremely unlikely to happen based on the statistics of women that I've worked with. And even just like, I can't afford this right now, now isn't the right time. This resistance isn't necessarily a sign that you need to like close this app and stop listening, put your phone away. It is often a sign that beyond the decision to join us in Romance Revolution, there is this beautiful heart-led and romantic life awaiting where you feel in control, in charge, and excited because you know exactly what it takes to create change without your partner's conscious effort. And instead of being derailed by your triggers and doubts, you have a well-trodden path back to what you do know gives you a sense of security, which allows you to focus on the things you really care about. And when your beloved gets snarky, you're able to respond so authentically and courageously that over time you are able to evoke the sweet words that make you feel heard, the ones you've been waiting for a while. You deserve this. Inside of Romance Revolution, I'm going to be sharing the tools, the mindset, the philosophy, and the education that has helped me create this in my own relationship and that of already hundreds of women. If you go and you use the links in the show notes to apply for Romance Revolution, I'm so excited to read through your application. This will be a small group with plenty of time for integration as well as space for individual coaching. And we do have an early bird bonus, so I would invite you to apply sooner rather than later. When you join Romance Revolution, you will learn how to apply the tangible, applicable change to your life in the micro moments, like when you're brushing your teeth, which will increase the likelihood of this transformation actually sticking and you feeling regulated and resilient long after our time together is complete. Go ahead, find the application below. I can't wait to chat with you and see you inside. A big and special thanks to Upturned for composing this magical piece of music and to GS Studios for mixing it. To find Upturned's other tracks or ask for your own special custom piece of music, go say hello using their contact details in the show notes.